All right, so this is my pre-coffee conversation, and really what I'm trying to do here, it's really for notes for my people. But you know, I want to get into title, and I want to get into it's so funny when I hear people talk about other title companies and what they say are good about them, and what they say are bad. So what I really want to touch on is you know the worst thing you can do is if you're a business person is say something like, well, we've been around forever. I mean, that's like the worst thing. I mean, that's like the Native Americans telling the Anglos that and see what happened to them. Like, that's what like Kmart said to Walmart, we were here first. Like, if you don't stay relevant, it doesn't matter what your message is. Sears would probably like to have a few take backs. So so Toys R Us is a big one. Anyway, so what do you really get into? You don't get into title knowledge, you get into title execution. It doesn't matter. Like, people don't care what we know in title. They care that we're going to get the job done. And most of the time in most deals, I mean, when we try to like show off with our knowledge, that's like 1 out of 100 transactions. The bulk of it is just everyday regular get stuff done. And if something's happening behind the scene, you don't know anyway. So if you want to play the knowledge game, yeah, I'll take my best four against your best four, and I'll take that Pepsi challenge. But here's the real problem. Being good at title is not necessarily knowing title, because that's just one aspect of getting to the closing table. It's not a knowledge game, it's a closing game. So what we have to do is we have to make sure that we don't say no unless we must say no. And no comes from all these different areas of how we execute business in title. So you have knowledge, you have resources, you have logistics, you have commitment. So, and you have risk assessment, right? If you're with a title company that doesn't take into consideration who the client is on some level of risk assessment, you're with the wrong company. If that's why, we've done very well as quality title when truly exposing the fear-based presentation that people have when it comes to, or that people execute to try to get you to stay with their title company, is because you're just trying to make them afraid. And again, my joke is about there's a better chance of being hit by lightning and winning the lottery than there is for this to be an actual title claim. So, exploiting the truth of something to what? What ultimately? What really is the biggest picture? So lately, when I talk to clients, the thing I have been hanging my hat on is when my client comes to me for that second opinion, which I have told them to do many, many times over. If somebody says no, you come to me and you explain the no to me. Now, let's be very clear. When I get a no, because we're entitled, because this is real estate, and because this is a one and done type of situation, and part of it being, insurance back, historical insurance, I have to know the details. You cannot simplify a complex process without getting the details. But when that time comes, if I give an answer and I'm sure of my answer, really, what am I answering? Like, really, what happens in title? You get somebody who is not motivated enough or educated enough, but feels that they are powerful enough or have been empowered to tell you no. So that's the number one concern that I have when it comes to a title no. The other title no is underwriter. So if you're using Chicago and we use First American, that's a different underwriter. And that is yet another shade that you want to like look through the lens of your deal in, is through a different underwriter's view. Sometimes it's incredibly relevant. So then what I like to do is I like to hear the details and then go back to my client, the agent, the borrower, the seller, the lender, because no title company has ever sent me a deal before. Although I may have sent them, it doesn't matter. I'm getting sidetracked. So then what you want to do is you say, look, I don't want your deal. I don't want this deal because your client's going to be delayed. You have a closing scheduled. It's for 3 o'clock this afternoon. You got a last minute no. Here's my solution. Here's my answer. And if they can't do it, then you flip it over to us and we'll do it, considering all things are as they were explained. Now, but that's not my first move. My first move is really to my client's client, which is ultimately everybody's client, the buyer, the seller. So that's my first thing. That's my first move. And that's a big thing that, that permeates what quality does. We're really about, first of all, we're about the marathon. It isn't a sprint. It isn't about tomorrow's deals. It's about getting that client and winning them forever. So I'm still giving them something of value. And that doesn't mean that I need value myself. So, when someone comes and basically, and this is another one of my major philosophies is you don't chop someone else's head off to walk taller. You just walk tall. So when we go to basically saying, things like, well, we've been around forever and we are the constant here and we are the known, that's ridiculous. One of the things that one of my philosophies, and it's a business philosophy, but it pervades into, new markets, is I don't like leases. I like owning. I like owning because now I have an asset, a leverageable asset. I don't have this liability. In 5 years, that lease could have paid for over half the building I bought. And what does it tell the community? That we're here for the long run, that we want to be a part of this, that we are invested. So, and everybody's guilty of it. And I'm guilty of it too. I mean, even if you look at like the realtor title company relationship or lender title, right? We, even as it pertains to the end, the buyer, the seller, we are still the bottom of the pyramid. We are the bottom of the pyramid, the bottom of the hierarchy vendor. So we are always treated, I'm sorry, in a negative state. Most of the time we're not. Most of the time clients are good, people are kind, and kindness kills. So even if someone comes in with the wrong attitude, but what I'm basically saying is though, we are kind of in a defense mode of how we execute our business. And really we become the problem solver. We become the consigliere. We become the person that sometimes takes it on the chin to get the deal done. We become sometimes, the scapegoat. And then sometimes it's our damn fault. But what I'm saying here is, but even then we kind of take on this defense. Like if I was in your shoes, I would never behave that way. And even that's wrong, right? I mean, when you're in a position of known power and you're frustrated, what do? You have attitude because there's no consequence. I mean, damn, I can't remember. I can think of all the times I've been less than kind to my boys when it wasn't my boys that I was upset at, or, the old, kicking the dog kind of a thing. Dog didn't do any damn thing wrong. There's something wrong with you. So even that, we have this problem of trying to make heroes of ourselves, when in truth, what we did was, and this is what I'm saying is, we all kind of slip into the place that we are provided by the environment that we are given. So that was a little general, but to make the bridge. So if I'm always at the bottom and you're always at the top, I'm going to react sometimes maybe I'm just going to stand up and say no, or maybe I'm going to throw a temper tantrum and say no, or maybe I'm going to give you less information or be quieter because I'm upset that you talk to me that way. But I very rarely take the aggressive, and I very rarely, go and be the aggressor or answer direct anger with anger back, or that kind of energy. I know my role. Even when I'm in a bad mood, even the parameters of my role stay the same. What am I getting at? When you're the only title company in town, you abuse that very truth. And the thing is, I'm not saying I wouldn't do it on some level either, until the bar you set goes below what we all know is below the bar. So in other words, when the whole group, when all the masses, when the mob, the crowd, the whoever, When we all look at ourselves and say, you really can't close for 2 weeks after a clear to close because you were told no, that is where you have failed. And then you get into, why did you fail? You run your company so poorly that you don't have the liquidity and the revenue to pay people to get you at least at the bare minimum of acceptable business conduct. Or you're too greedy and you've taken that money and you put it in your pocket, or you have made so many bad business decisions that you can't hold status quo, but you, the company, has done something and you have failed. So whether it's succumb to the pressure of pricing and you didn't give yourself enough value, so you went ahead and gave yourself a bargain basement price list, and so now your service is terrible because you don't have it doesn't matter. At some point, you decided that the bare minimum, that you could go below it. And that's where you fail. That's where you are going to lose. And now you're scared because someone smelled blood, right? And what do? Everything right. So we're going to immediately raise the status quo. We are more magnetic. We are more bound to the future of the community and being a part of it. We are the new blood, the new thing. Everybody loves a shiny new thing. So we're a threat across the board. And all we can really do is be honest with ourselves as to where we stand and then execute. But it's a bad game. It is a bad game to start pushing others around before anyone has done anything wrong. This is free market economy. You gloated about your money, you gloated about what you're doing when there is a known reputation of doing a less than average job. And now we're knocking, and you really think poking the bear is the move? It's like you didn't even take a first punch. You took a first poke. If you're going to come out swinging, come out swinging. Or, you know what? What about the law of abundance? What about there's plenty for everybody? What about we can all do this together and still be successful? And you know what? Yeah, we're going to make you do a better job, but you're going to have more time to do it because we're going to take some of that, and we should. And if you ran your business incorrectly, or you're greedy, or honestly, life sometimes puts some things in your path to become more important than business. My God, if something happened right now to one of my kids, you think I'd be doing this video? No. But I also created a company that has people who, if they had to go deal with something horrible, or I had to go deal with something horrible, the company would run and not fall apart. And that's another metric of running a good business, is you have the talent behind the leadership so that the machine still runs if something like that took place. So I understand that life's more important than business. It always will be forever. But if we're not infusing into our business what we try to be in life, what are we doing? What are we doing? We're playing a game. We're reading a script, or we're being a character or a caricature of ourselves. And that's not a long haul move. That's not the marathon move. If we came to your town and we hung up a shingle, you did something wrong. Let's not say wrong. That's a little extreme. It's not like, this isn't like the Nazis and the British, right? I mean, this is not like that. This is all under the banner and umbrella of American capitalism. We're all patriot. I mean, you know what I mean? Like it's like let's kind of descale. There's no nuclear war happening in North Vernon. But to get us there, to get troops on the ground, to have a presence, you did that yourself. Because I know for a fact that we didn't come into that community for over a year. It was we're not going to be ultimately for 2 years, maybe 3. Anyway, time flies. Because of the integrity that we have, because of what isn't business but is personal, what is people's lives, that we've had this conversation before. Yeah, I mean, I've pushed and I'm like, hey, are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. Hey, no problem. right? Like, that's how we conduct ourselves. That's how we do business with our clients. That's how most of our clients stay around forever. I mean, and then if we're good at social media and we're good at community because we genuinely like to be involved and be infused and have a voice and celebrate what we do, is it really the right move to start being passive aggressive, to start like trying to go out and say we're the best thing, when in truth what you really should do and can do is talk about your core services and how they're going to get better, and the rest of it you need to leave alone? Because the last thing you're going to understand that when you start bashing others, number one, you have to stay that course. You have to continue with your propaganda. You have to continue with manipulation. And it's exhausting. It is exhausting to harbor ill will or grudges towards others. You don't need that energy. Take that energy and put it into being the best version of your company, and then take that and make that content, because you have, I mean, what should you really be doing? You have the head start. We're the new kids on the block, but we're not. And that's a big mistake that you're making. So go back to your core values. Make sure you really are doing significant things and not just saying stuff into a camera, or actually, I don't know if I've seen video yet. It's posts, like written posts, which, hey, if that's your way of expression, great, no big deal there. But you need to get back to your core, and you need to be focused on what you do, not what we do. There can be a symbiosis. There can be two title companies, but we better be doing a good enough job that there doesn't have to be a third. Like, it doesn't have to be like that. We can do a lot of stuff together if you want it, but you gotta come to the bar. Like, you gotta, if you don't come to the bar, you're on your way out. And we're not doing it aggressively. This is not a takeover. This is not arbitrage. We're not trying to come in and take the lion's share. Well, maybe the lion's share, but even half, doesn't matter. The point is, focus on your house and do real things. Don't try to shine something up as if it's something it's not. Like do real things, make real changes, identify your real problems and fix them. And you know what? If we come in and take some of that pressure because you didn't change the way you're structured, or you can't change the way your financially, your monetary situation, fiscal, I don't know, whatever. The point being, if you can't change that very rapidly, you really need to think about what happens when we come in and what happens when you start losing business. But that doesn't mean you have to lose. You might lose market share, but that could be to your advantage when it comes to the overall execution of the company. In essence, yes, we are going to take some revenue and we're going to bring it over here, but we're also taking pressure. We're also taking some of the negativity away too, so that you can focus on core clients, so you can do a better job and not say we can't close on Friday, so that you can go out and do your mobiles or whatever the heck you're doing. But there's a way. There's always a way. It's pride that gets in the way, not the truth. Very rarely. I mean, once finally you set your pride down, you say, this could be a good thing. These are not parasites. These are not vultures. These are not piranhas. These are kind human beings that are trying to execute in a virtuous, honorable way in a hometown of one of the big dogs in our company. And we've done it with class. We have done it with integrity. We have done it with goodwill towards all, including those that think that even passively attacking us is the move. It's not the move. It's not the move. The move is to try to do internally what's definitely going to happen externally, Be honest with yourself. Put your pride, your hubris, put it to the side, and don't be scared. Don't use fear as your motivator. Like there's workarounds. I mean, there's things you can do. My God, I started with, I mean, my mother started, there was like 5 of us. I mean, we got up to 14 and then we went back down to 5. And then now we're in the 30s, and that's a 20 something years. I mean, my gosh. But we also have more locations and more regions. And, you know, I must be doing something right because I got darn good people too. So, you know what I'd really like to do if I could? Let's do a Zoom call and record it and then edit it and then both review it and see if we wanted to put that out there as like a joint conversation, which wouldn't happen because you're not on my level yet, or our level, or, you know, vision yet. But I don't mean size wise, I mean integrity wise. Not that I'm like the greatest guy in the world, but I do people right. I do business right. And when I make a mistake, I admit I made a mistake, and I apologize with my whole heart. Or sit down and have a lunch. It doesn't have to even be, you know, content, but like, just maybe I can help. Maybe I mean, I would do that. Like, I'm that guy. When people leave my company and they want to sit down and talk about another job offer, I'm not mad. I take my business hat off. I put my friend hat on first. I talk about their space. I ask them questions. I figure that out. And then I come back and then I talk about it from a business perspective. And then I give it to them to decide what they want to do. That's my thing. I would love to help another title company who feels threatened by our presence, and just kind of bounce some things back and forth and talk to them. Because if I've got, I mean, I'll learn. I'm ready to learn anytime, anywhere, any place from anyone. So, you know, this is just the beginning. I mean, this is really, a lot of this is just me kind of getting all this out here. You know, I don't think anybody's even ever going to watch this thing. It's like 400 minutes long. But Brittany, you see kind of where I went with that. This is how I feel. I didn't even think about it, or even I did a couple of bullets in my head, and then I'm like, nah, roll camera, you're on. And that's what I came up with. But we can go in a bunch of different ways. We can package this in a bunch of different ways. We can give, you know, little, but it's, you know, ultimately this is your backyard. So I want, you know, you're going to run point on this. And ultimately I'm going to back your play. This is your decision, how you want to handle it. This is your community. You know, so you're the one that knows, you're the one at the wheel, and I'm just backseat driving.